had created for you. World of joy from out of the blue. No, Penny!
Hello! The time is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is a DTN Disclaimer News Update from Roots of Justice. In sports, Adult Language ended up getting a red card in the third quarter during their pivotal match against Adult Situations. The move was largely viewed as a personal vendetta against the team by referee. Listener discretion is advised. In weather, I hope you don't have any plans to watch the film Shin Godzilla after this podcast, as there is a massive spoiler warning in effect. The Weather Advisory Board recommends watching the film first, dub or sub, and then returning to the podcast when you're ready. Traffic today is in gridlock thanks in part to opinions that belong to their individual participants and do not reflect Dub Talk as a whole. We suggest... Hold on. Breaking news, apparently a giant radioactive monster is currently tearing through Tokyo. Someone should probably go do something about that. In the meantime, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Dub Talk, the show where a bunch of nerds get together and talk about a recent dub or dub announcement. Today we have an incredibly special episode for you guys. Not only is this one of our secret OVA episodes of Dub Talk Summer at the Movies, snuck into the manga that'll never be licensed in the US, but for the first time in Dub Talk history, we're not actually talking about an anime dub. Sacrilege, I know. But trust me on this one. Let myself, Roots of Justice, and my co-host, Amon,
hello,
be your Sherpa into new worlds. This new world is a little something we like to call Kaiju Flicks. And the title at hand is one of the ones that gave Toho its most successful years ever. The other film being Your Name. We also have an episode for that too. That's right, today we're talking Shin Godzilla. The big guy himself is finally getting his due, with definitely one of the biggest scale dubs the franchise has ever received. Okay, maybe except the one with Steve Martin in it.
I always forget that he's called Steve Martin, and it makes me laugh every single time.
And in Godzilla 1985, it actually has Steve Martin in the movie, the comedian.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. That's hysterical. Oh no.
Alright, so this is kind of an interesting episode.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys in suits talking.
Mm-hmm. Yep, a lot of formal wear in this episode.
And lots of guys in monster suits doing the stompy.
Indeed. We could combine the two, but it's very hard to find a tailor who work on that scale.
Yeah. I imagine business wear is hard to get in 30,000 XX.
Yes. You have to really dig at the back of the rack to find the ones this big.
Indeed. So, in an interesting kind of case, we don't have a confirmed ADR scriptwriter on this one.
I noticed that. It is very strange, but true. We don't have one currently.
However, we do have a director in the form of Chris George, whom you would know from such dubs as Netoge, aka And You Never Thought There Was a Girl Online. Cringe. The Gray Man Hollow, the third and fourth OVAs of Ghost in the Shell Arise, High School DxD Born, Mikagura's School Suite, Monster Hunter Stories Right On, and Snow White with the Red Hair. And I gotta say, this is probably like his first live-action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he did that bad a job with it.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I hold the opinion that especially in comparison to dubbing, anime or any sort of animation, dubbing live action is very hard.
Yeah.
And making it look even halfway decent is like I've seen a couple of live action dubs, but I think the last one I saw was probably for like Kung Fu Hustle, which as a goofy martial arts comedy, if the dubbing looks a little wonky, it's okay. It's not exactly it's not exactly going to distract from the serious plot going on. Obviously, this is a tad more serious than that, but all things considered, I also thought he did a pretty solid job. Given I know what my expectations for most live-action dubs are, and they're usually pretty rock bottom. So
yeah,
might be benefiting from lowered expectations a little bit, but I actually thought this was fairly well done.
Yeah, it hard for me to put into words. Occasionally there was sentences that would be kind of mashed together because of lip flaps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But other than that, it was really solid. I have to say.
Yeah, I agree. Occasionally you can tell there are instances where all right, here's the sentence we need. Here's the lip flaps we have, and obviously since it's an actual person talking, you can't cheat nearly as easily. But barring that kind of stuff, I thought he did a pretty commendable job as far as working with what he had.
Mm-hmm.
I think the closest I can have to a complaint is occasionally sometimes the recording sounded a little dry, but that's about it.
And there was one interesting thing I noticed with the dub script.
Mm-hmm.
This actually ended up being one of the Blu-rays you could kind of flip the English subtitles on with the dub.
Mm-hmm.
So I could catch a lot of the line differences.
Mm-hmm.
And one really interesting thing the dub does that isn't in the subtitles, they actually refer to Nagasaki and Hiroshima by name in the dub.
Really?
Which is not present in the subtitles.
Interesting.
And I know that's a big third rail in Japanese entertainment.
Right.
But it is kind of interesting to see that, because, Toho had to have let them do that. They are so hands-on with the Godzilla franchise, I cannot see them being allowed to just sneak that in.
Oh, definitely. There's no way they got that through without I'm not super aware of how licensing for Godzilla movies go, but I've gotten the general sense that if Toho does not okay it, it does not happen. Period. So yeah, that is pretty remarkable, actually. Wow.
Yeah, it was something that really fascinated me.
Yeah, that's. I mean, in part just because I watched a little bit of the sub, but not too much. I mostly watched the dub. So I didn't pick up on that, but now that you pointed out, that is really interesting. Wow.
Okay, so our first batch of characters is actually from the Unknown Creature Task Force, basically formed to deal with Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
We have Hiromi Ogashira, who's basically the lead female scientist involved in all this. Basically a Ministry of the Environment employee who's basically been given this huge role in trying to figure out what this thing is. We have Mori, an employee of the Health, Labor, and Welfare Ministry, who's basically Rondo's right hand in the Unknown Creature Task Force. Basically, he's the guy who's assigning everybody their tasks, making sure people are doing what they need to do, and all that. And you have Hazama, who's a biologist at the Chihoku University, who is basically one of the people who cracks the code of Godzilla. Koriyama, crisis management supervisor. I don't know why he's here. He's more of a cabinet employee. And Tatsuhiko Yasuda, basically a guy at a computer trying to figure everything out. So, Hiromi Ogashira is played by Kate Oxley, who you would know as Misha Khrushchev in A Certain Magical Index, Misaki Kirihara in Darker Than Black, Lila in Monster Hunter Stories Ride On, and Akane Tsunemori in Psycho-Pass. Mori is played by Christopher Benz, who you would know as Nino and Akka, Narcissus in The Heroic Legend of Arslan, Hantasero in My Hero Academia, and Life Cool in Yurikuma Arashi. Hazama is played by Jeremy Schwartz. You would know him as Admiral Zephyr, aka Zed, in One Piece Film Z, Oculus in Death Parade, the Black King in Drifters, and Sorbet in Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, and the Resurrection F arc of Super. Koriyama is played by Barry Yandel. He is William T. Spears in Black Butler, Zaruba in basically both anime seasons of Garo, Yorkie in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Mr. Tubon Clay in One Piece. Tatsuhiko Yasuda is played by Ian Sinclair, aka Dandy from Space Dandy, the narrator of the live-action Black Butler movie, Baldroy in the Black Butler anime, and Tatara in The Boy and the Beast.
This is quite the cast we've got here already.
Yeah, I know.
It is. They did not screw around with the casting on this movie. I was very impressed.
Yeah, like the lower cabinet employees are all like the big name people at Funimation.
Right.
I really like Ian Sinclair's delivery of Yasuda's outburst when he figures out, there's a radiation path from where Godzilla's been traveling. And he's just flailing around with his laptop in his hands like, oh yeah, I got it.
It was very true. I think I remember when I was watching up to that point, like I recognized his voice, but I couldn't quite place who is that. I know that. I think at that point it's like, it's Ian Sinclair. Beautiful. It was very good.
And I have to commend Kate Oxley on her kind of robotic performance of Ogashira. I do have to say, though, that like a lot of the awkward lines from the script are kind of within her character. But I think with what she's been given, she did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I think a couple of the people here in general had the kind of like tough nuts to crack as far as like, here's a dialogue you have to say, here's the time you have to say it in. Go nuts. I think she definitely had probably the trickiest of that, but I also think she did a very commendable job of trying to bend her dialogue to, both make sense on screen and also like keep up the character she was playing. Which, especially because like I feel like this is true for a lot of the characters, she did have to deal with like a fair amount of kind of like expository type dialogue, which I feel like is even within those constrictions, that's just another thing she has to deal with.
Right,
and I thought
denser and drier, even than the character dialogue in the movie.
Indeed, and I thought even then, like I thought she did a very commendable job getting that across. Yeah. So props to her.
And I also really liked Bevins' kind of middle manager delivery of Mori.
Also very solid.
Like that seems like the kind of role that he's really good at.
Yeah. No, I agree. He did. He I feel like some of these, especially some of these smaller roles, they fall a little bit into that. Now the characters they're a little limited in the sense of like, here's your role.
Yeah.
And this is you have a little room to play around in, but not too much. And I thought a lot of people like Bevins did a very good job of like fitting into that, but also giving them a distinct enough personality that didn't come off as like generic peons who could have been played by anybody.
Yeah.
Which I feel is often like an undervalued skill in acting, so kudos to him.
And also props to Jeremy Schwartz. Because, a biologist at a prestigious university, it kind of runs against typecast from what he's usually been put in as. Usually he's like the tough guy or the deep, wise, introspective elder. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah. I did enjoy that. I thought with maybe one exception we'll get to later, I did feel like there wasn't a lot of like strict typecasting going on in this film, which is nice. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there wasn't a lot to Barry Yendel's character. He's just kind of there in the cabinet meetings, basically giving advice to the prime minister. And I want to say he's one of the guys who ends up dying in the helicopter.
I believe he is. Which nothing against him, but sometimes you gotta have someone to fill those roles. Where like, this is a character, they do things.
Yeah.
Their arc is they get blown up with other people. Whoops.
Definitely. It kind of happens, giant monster tearing through the city.
Yep.
Suddenly figures out, I can shoot lasers. What am I going to do with these lasers?
Oh, there's so many lasers. Here, you get a laser, and you get a laser, and you get a laser. Oh, it made them explode. Oh, well.
Alright, so next up we have the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. Satomi, a guy who kind of doesn't show up until he's, like, accidentally the prime minister.
Yep. Whoops.
Which I love the delivery of his big line, but I'll get to that here in a sec. We have Yanagihara, the Minister of Transportation, Sekiguchi, Science Minister. Basically, the two bottom ones are sort of in the early cabinet meetings, and then they just kind of go somewhere else. I don't think they were even in the scenes where the helicopter blows up. So.
I don't think so. They just kind of like, their purpose is served. Presumably they evacuate Tokyo so a giant monster doesn't flatten them.
Yeah. So Satomi is played by Charlie Campbell. You would know him as Gran Torino in My Hero Academia, Lance in Appleseed 13, Keiichiro Koibuchi in Princess Jellyfish, and Pochard in Aka 13. Yanagihara is Arbor Elliot. He's the narrator in Space Dandy. Ginyu in Dragon Ball Z, basically the Kai remake and Super. Dot Pixis in, I believe, both versions of Attack on Titan, the anime and the live action. And Bookman and DeGreyman. And Sekiguchi is played by John Bergmeyer. He's Tien in the Dragon Ball franchise. Kurama in Yu Yu Hakusho. Kenya Horikawa in All Out. And Berkman in the Izetta the Last Witch. So, again, there wasn't a lot to Yanagihara and Sekiguchi, but they were in the press release, so I figured I'd add them.
If animation's gonna put them out there, then we would be remiss to not comment on them at least a little bit.
Right.
And I feel like they kind of fall into the same way as a lot of these more minor government characters. This is like they show up, they do a solid job doing their small role, and then they conveniently go away for narrative purposes.
Yep.
Which it looks weird if, they blew up the entire Japanese government on that helicopter? Oh, no. Oh, well, that's too bad.
I mean, at the very least, they're pretty good at griping with each other.
Yes,
so
they are.
There's that.
Even
Satomi...
Satomi's... No, I was just gonna say, again, they're good at adding that little bit of flavor to something that could be kind of flat. But, let's talk about Satomi, because he's great.
Yeah, he's just like this low-level government employee, because he had the right connections, he ends up the prime minister. At the worst possible time, somebody from a lower department who gets promoted due to favors would want to be prime minister. And the first lines he says in the entire movie are the best. It's just like, oh, my noodles are soggy. This job's gonna suck.
Just with all the, what am I doing here? I'm not cut out for this. Oh boy.
And Charlie Campbell just gives him, the perfect old man voice.
It's so good. It's just, I know he's not on screen for that much, just because, he doesn't show up until, the halfway point anyways, but he's such a delight when he's there. It's just, just that perfect of, I was supposed to grow old and retire in my little know-nothing position. How did this happen?
And then all of a sudden, he's thrust in the position of, do I nuke my own country?
Do I do the thing that no one wants to do so we can have a country to still have? I just want to issue fishing licenses. Can I go back to that? That's all I wanted to do. This is a story about a lot of comfy government agents having to actually do jobs, and they're not happy about it.
Yeah, that seems like one of the underlying themes of the movie, where it's satirical of Japanese government, but at the same time, it's trying to say, if everybody bands together, we can get shit done.
Yeah. I did some very brief reading about the background, and apparently the not terribly well organized responses to the earthquake in 2011, and I think the tsunami that happened a couple years before that, in addition to the is it Fukuyama? Is that where the nuclear power plant is?
Fukushima,
thank you. Trying the not very good government responses to all these various disasters were kind of a big influence on this thing. Is if we have this much red tape, how are we gonna fix anything? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know. But yeah, like you can definitely tell, especially with him, where it's like, I'm not supposed to have an actual job. What? No, I have a cabinet position where I don't have to do anything. That's the idea. What happened?
I was put here because I helped a guy once.
I helped jumpstart his car, and he gave me a cabinet position. I don't have any authority. What are you doing? Ugh. Yeah, no, Charlie Campbell's a lot of fun in this role. He is
like a lot of
spot
his
on.
roles in general have been really fun lately.
Especially with Gran Torino.
He's just a lovable curmudgeon.
Oh no, he's dead. I'm alive. He's alive.
You just want to put his fish cakes in the microwave.
Oh, good times.
Alright, so next up, we have basically the military characters in the film. The 32nd Infantry Regiment Commander, Tanba. Basically, he's in, like, the last 10 minutes spearheading the Freeze Godzilla operation.
Mm-hmm.
You have Yusuke Shimura, the Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Defense. He's around a lot of the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he's with Rondo a lot in the very beginning of the film, up until the Unknown Creature Task Force is set up. And then you have the actual Minister of Defense, Reiko Hanamori, who really doesn't do much except advise on the military aspect of taking down a giant monster.
When you have to wake up in the morning, you have to figure out how to blow up a giant creature that didn't exist the day before.
Yeah.
Always a fun task.
Perks of the job.
Yep.
Okay, so Tamba is played by David Wald. You would know him from Attack on Titan either as Hans from the anime or Soda from the live-action movies. He's Herman Lewis in Garo the Animation, Leonardo da Vinci in Nobunaga the Fool, aka Drifters with Giant Robots, and he's Murasaki in Drifters, aka Nobunaga the Fool without giant robots.
Go on.
Yusuke Shimura is played by Micah Solsad, who you would know as Kenshin Himura in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin films. He's Best Jeanist in My Hero Academia, Akito Hyuga in Code Geass Akito the Exiled, and Yuichiro Hakiya in Seraph of the End. Because I forgot that in the ping pong episode. I'm sorry, Megan. Reiko Hanamori is played by Rachel Robinson, who you would know as Mo from Akka, Zorn Blitz from Hellsing Ultimate, Ifrit in Divine Gate, and Angelica in Show by Rock. So I have to say, while she doesn't get a lot of actual screen time, I really like Rachel Robinson's Reiko. Her voice really fit the character. She sounded like she knew what she was doing, which when you're playing like a military advisor is kind of an important thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. I thought she did. I like what she brought to the role. I thought she did a very good job of selling this character. Who, doesn't have a huge role on the whole, but it is important while she's on screen. I thought she did a good job of selling us as somebody who's very competent and has a lot of know-how. Like I said, a lot of like kind of small roles where you don't necessarily get room to stretch out, but you still need to nail it. And like I said, I think that's often an underutilized skill for an actor to have. How to kind of pop in, do a role, do it well, pop out.
Yeah, she's not around a lot, but her role is really important in the core of the movie. Because she is basically organizing the self-defense force to try and take down Godzilla. Mm-hmm. Kind of a real important job there. Yep.
Very. You gotta have that, or else everything kind of starts falling apart on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I really like Micah Solsad's kind of keep your head down, don't rock the boat personality that he gave to Yusuke Shimura.
I agree. It was pleasant to hear. It was pleasant to hear him in there. As one of a couple times, watching this, it's like you sort of hear familiar people in there, and It's often kind of nice in the sense of, like, I feel like this movie's like a relatively big deal for Funimation, so it's often just nice to hear an actor you like have a part in it, even if it ends up being like fairly small in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely. And while he's not around like at all, he gets like a couple lines here and there. I really do have to give props to David Walt's Tamba.
I agree. He doesn't do a lot, but he does well with what he is given. A+.
Yeah, he gets like the big speech at the end.
It's a good speech.
So next up we have a bureaucrat from a vaguely named party in the Japanese government, Shuichi Izumi, who basically kind of helps out here and there, basically giving Rondo some connections to help him figure out what Godzilla is, how to stop it, and also to find the mysterious scientist Goromaki and what he has in connection to the creature.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Chief Cabinet Secretary Ryuta Azuma, who's basically one of the big advisory roles to the Prime Minister. Also kind of gives Rando advice from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So Shuichi Izumi is played by Jeremy Inman, who you would know as Android 16 in Dragon Ball Z, Innocentus in The Heroic Legend of Arslan, the Chief Warden Magellan in One Piece, and Tomoharu Kome in Sakura Quest. And a special note for Ryuto Azuma, who is played by the late Ed Blaylock. He is known as King Bradley, aka Pride or Wrath, depending on what version of Fullmetal Alchemist you watch. Also Fritz Lang in the movie of the first series, which was really kind of a cool thing. Like, that movie was great, but I digress.
Indeed.
He was Fleet Admiral Sengoku in One Piece, Sebastian in Overlord, and the director in Barakamon. So, it's unfortunate that this may be one of the last times we get to talk about Ed Blaylock on this podcast.
Yeah.
I was a very big fan of his King Bradley, and I have to say that if this is his final role, this is one hell of a final role to go out on.
Say he's very good in this. It's, I agree. Like, good thing to go out on, but it's sad. He's jeez.
Because I mean, he gets a decent amount. Gets a big meaty role in the first half of the film before Godzilla fully evolves.
Yeah, he definitely gets to do his stuff, and I like what Blaylock brought to the performance. I thought he did. It's the same thing. He did a lot of. He just did well with what he was given. It was nice. He brought that nice Ed Blaylock quality.
Yeah,
that makes him so fun to listen to in stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist and One Piece. It's just it's so nice.
And I really have a lot of respect for Jeremy Inman's kind of. He plays the slimy, greasy politician really well. Like, this is not the kind of role you typically hear him as. He's typically like the cheery. I mean, what can you say about the guy who played JJ?
I forgot that he also played JJ.
Oh. JJ did nothing wrong. He's just an ass.
Oh.
But he's just like this big old greaseball politician. Even through the crisis, he's like, oh yeah, Rondo, you know you could, like, run for prime minister in a couple years because of this. And hey, don't forget about your buddy Izumi when you rise up to the top, won't ya? Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Like I said earlier, I enjoyed this movie in part because, it didn't feel like there was that much, like, typecasting among the Funimation actor pool, but I also enjoyed it because there's, like, really a lot of, hey, you usually don't get to play characters like this. You wanna play somebody, very different from what we usually cast you as? You do? Excellent. Go nuts. It's a lot of fun. He does the slimeball politician so very well. I kind of hope he gets cast with more characters like this in the future because he's a delight.
Indeed.
Good times.
Alright, so next up we have the Prime Minister, Seiji Okuuchi, who's basically being thrust into the position of having to deal with a giant monster, and getting thwarted at, like, every turn.
Pretty much. It is not a good time to be the leader of Japan at the moment. Just nope. You know that great idea you guys had? Nope, not gonna work. Sorry.
Oh, hey, don't worry. This monster will never be able to emerge on land. We'll just wait for it to go across the Wait, what?
What?
It's on land.
What? How'd that happen? We don't know, sir. We're still trying to figure that out.
And then he gets dead.
Yep. It's like, sir, please evacuate. We can hold down the fort here. Turns out that was terrible advice.
Yeah.
If he just stayed there, he would have been... If he just stayed there, like, in the subway with everyone else, he would have been fine.
Yep.
Oh, well. It's hard to be the guy in charge in these movies, because you'll inevitably be blown up. It's not fun at all.
And also, we have... I'm not sure if he was the aide to Okuichi when he was Prime Minister, but he was most definitely Satomi's aide. Hideki Akasaka. Also basically giving Rondo advice to keep his head down. Not present the goofy idea that, oh, the steam cloud at the beginning of the movie might be a monster. Being proven wrong.
What is this foolishness? There's no monster in Tokyo Bay. Stop this. How are you going to get anywhere in this country if you keep saying, what? There is a monster? Oh, well, still stop doing that.
Damn it. God damn it.
Everyone's like, oh no, we're in a Godzilla movie. We're going to be wrong all the time, aren't we? Well, oh well.
So, Prime Minister Okuuchi is played by Kent Williams. You would know him as Father in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Shiken Kujo in the live-action Black Butler, the Sundance Kid in Drifters, and Deus Ex Machina in Future Diary. Hideki Akasaka is played by J. Michael Tatum, who you would know as Sebastian in Black Butler, Butch Cassidy in Drifters, Erwin Smith in the anime version of Attack on Titan, and the narrator in Kato the Right Answer.
Now, earlier I was mentioning how I enjoyed how little typecasting there was among the actors.
Yeah.
There was one exception, and it's that J. Michael Tatum plays a guy in glasses. It's like,
yeah, well, can't escape them all.
Nope. And I feel like that's not a complaint. He does a great job in the role. He is excellent casting. But it's also like, yep. It's like, hey, look, it's sort of a refined, dignified guy in glasses. Hey, Michael, we got a role for you.
Get in the booth, man.
Get in the booth. Come on, it's only It's only a 2-hour movie. We can crack this thing out today. Come on, let's go.
Hey, Tatum, you want to be in a Godzilla movie?
Do I? Do I get stepped on? No. Oh. Do I get to be wrong? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
But yeah, he's sharp, he's snappy. Basically, like, everything you would want in a Tatum role.
It definitely plays to his strengths as an actor. Which is important, I think, because he is one of the characters who does show up pretty consistently throughout. So, obviously you want somebody who's going to be on the ball the whole time for that.
Yeah. And, there's not really much to say about Kent Williams' Okuchi.
She's just a dude trying to do the right thing and being thwarted at every turn because nobody knows what they're doing.
Yep.
I don't remember who says it, but there's a line from like early on where they're like trying to figure out what to do, and they're like, "I don't know, sir. This isn't in the handbook.
Yeah.
We don't have emergency guidelines for this situation."
Like, a lot of the movie is just, oh, this doesn't have precedent. What do we do? What ministry does this fall under?
Can we evacuate
Where are
Tokyo?
my pants? Get me my jumper! I need to look like I'm doing something!
Sir, we told you not to say anything not confirmed. I was trying to calm the populace. Don't get mad at me. Fix this.
Yeah, you just made it worse, though.
Oh, well. But yeah, I enjoyed Kent in this role. It's just someone he's trying to do okay. It's not working out. And then he's given bad advice and gets blown up by a purple laser. But as far as ways to go, it's not bad.
Yep, get knocked down by that purple rain.
Mm-hmm. I see what you did there.
Rest in peace, Prince.
Rest in peace.
And last but not least, we have the aide to the U.S. president, who's basically sent to Japan to deal with Godzilla, because might come to America. We don't know.
It's like, I mean, California's right there on the other side of the ocean. Like, you know.
That's true.
We gotta cover our bases, man.
And that aide's name is Kyoko Ann Patterson. And then we also have our protagonist, Rondo Yaguchi. Basically kind of getting promoted, like, at every turn, because he's, like, the only guy with the ideas that are seeming to work.
Pretty much.
So, Kyoko Ann Patterson is played by Trina Nishimura, who you would know as Mikasa Ackerman in both the live-action and animated versions of Attack on Titan, Chain Sugarugi in Blood Blockade Battlefront, Megumi Takani in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin, and Navi Ro in Monster Hunter Stories Right On. Rondo Yaguchi is played by Todd Haberkorn, who you might have heard is Ajin Demi-Human as Yu Tasaki, Rocky and Claymore, Layton in Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, which I really need to get to, and Death the Kid in Soul Eater. So, I am mostly okay with everybody in the movie. They all do a great job at what in their roles. I'm not a fan of Trina Nishimura's Kyoko. It's not because of her performance, though. It's because of the way Kyoko was written in the original film.
Yeah.
Her dialogue is a lot of English, kind of peppered into her Japanese. And it doesn't translate well.
Right.
When you try to move it over into the dub.
Right.
Like, she did a valiant job with what she had. But, man, that dialogue is just a mess when it comes to her. Because, I mean, you can see at points when her lines basically sync up perfectly with the actress's mouth. I don't think that was done accidentally, and it kind of stunted her lines.
Right, like, we have actual English dialogue to match here, so we gotta match the English dialogue.
Also, it's on that note, it's also kind of weird. There's a lot of instances of American characters kind of showing up.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was watching that, wondering, like, because, like, I wasn't sure. It's like, is that how they sound in the Japanese as well, or did they dub over the Americans already speaking English?
Yeah.
Like, how does that? Are you allowed to do that, or do you have to dub them over because, like, otherwise you'd have to, like, send some sort of royalty to that actor for being in your dub now? Like, how does this work?
That's what I'm assuming the situation is.
Right. Which, like, that's weird. Like, okay, but that's like, what is it? There's some like very, very old, like, it's like a Hercules movie. It's some Italian sword and sorcery movie, and Christopher Lee's in it. But this is back when, like, they never, like, recorded anything on set. You ADR'd everything in post, so it's Christopher Lee, but some other random dude is voicing him, and it's very jarring to watch.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's very jarring. And this is sort of the same way. It's like, I wonder, like, I meant to, like, go back and look at it in Japanese just because I was curious. And I was like, does this even sound like the same guy? Like, what's going on here? This is very strange.
And Todd Haberkorn's Rando, I really liked it. I didn't think I would, because, I mean, the voice cast was announced, like, 3 months ago via a press release coinciding with the solicitation of the Blu-ray. And I look at it, and it's like, Todd Haberkorn? Really? It didn't seem like it would fit on paper, and I was proven wrong.
You know, I agree. I thought he did a very good job. You know, I think it's weird. Todd Haberkorn, in my mind, and I'm sure part of this is that I'm watching Fairy Tail recently, but in my mind, he's one of these people, he's got a very, like, shonen protagonist voice.
Yeah.
Which, you know, feels like a very odd fit for this movie. I think it's partially, like, in a weird way, Yaguchi is kind of like, this is what a shonen protagonist would be like in this world. Where, like, he's not, like, badass per se, but where he's in a position where, like, well, you're bleeding, but bandages are kind of a preemie right now. He's like, I'm okay. Go use bandages for somebody else. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought he did very well in this role. I thought he did a very good job. Given that he's like one of the few characters who's like in pretty much any scene with people in it, I thought he did a very good job carrying the movie.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Same here. So, I kind of wanted to use the final thoughts section to kind of go off on a little rant.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the Blu-ray release of Shin Godzilla, Funimation's release, they kind of did something really not very controversial, but somehow it ended up being that way.
Mm-hmm.
Where they removed the huge block of Japanese text from the bottom of the screen whenever they introduce, like, a character or a new type of tank or helicopter. Like, it would be this big old block of Japanese text. And I assume it would have had to have been subtitled. They would have probably had to reformat the dialogue subtitles around that.
Mm-hmm.
So they just took it out. They probably got masters that didn't have them in,
right.
Quick fix.
Yeah.
But somehow, Anna Twitter kind of got itself, got its panties in a bunch about it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the point, Manga UK even came out and said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have this awkward block of text in our theatrical release, even though it's probably baked into the theatrical master."
Right.
So.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and thinking to myself, you know, Toho probably sends the version without the big kanji block text to everybody, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, listeners at home, I don't know if you know this, but I think we alluded to it earlier. Toho are very controlling of how their movies get released overseas these days. You don't get to put anything out without Toho's say-so. Media Blasters did that once, and it basically borked their entire relationship with Toho permanently. Like, they do not let you fuck around. At all.
It almost borked their entire company.
Exactly. Like if it looks like that, it's probably because Toho said that's what it's going to look like, not some decision on Funimation's part. Like, they're the ones in charge of these movies at the end of the day. Like, even more so than probably any of the anime Funimation works with. Like, what Toho says goes.
And not to mention, you also kind of have the double whammy of Studio Kara being involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
Namely because, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, it is co-directed by Hideaki Anno of Evangelion fame.
Also a man known for being very particular about how his stuff looks and gets released. Like, there's a number of people and companies higher up the food chain than Funimation who get to call these shots. And I feel like laying this at their feet is both unfair and suggests that a lot of the people talking about this don't know enough about the background to really, I feel like they're coming from a place of they just don't know.
Yeah.
They don't remember that time that Media Blasters had to, like, recall an entire release and strip a commentary off it because they hadn't asked for Toho's permission first.
Oh no, like, it was...
Even worse than that, wasn't it?
It was, from my understanding, they got a bunch of production photos off the internet and put it on the Blu-ray.
Oh no, Media Blasters.
And then Toho got wind, got really mad about it, and forced not only the recall of, I believe it was Destroy All Monsters.
I think that sounds correct. I remember that being the one that was, like, in print for like a hot second, and then you could not get it anymore. So I think you're right.
They not only recalled Destroy All Monsters, but also Godzilla vs. Megalon as well, which I can't recall if that one actually had any issues with it.
I know with one of them, I think what happened was it had a commentary by an American sort of, scholarly Godzilla fan kind of dude, and I believe they did not okay that with Toho either. And there's like a couple of them that got out before it was recalled. You can still sometimes find them, but I remember that also got them in a lot of trouble, and they had to and you'll notice anything.
No, I think I feel like that was. They didn't pay the guy.
Oh no!
Who did the commentary?
God damn it, Media Blasters! Why are you terrible?
And he got mad about it, and they had to recall the disc.
Yeah, Media Blasters, you were the only ones putting out all these, like, non-Godzilla Toho sci-fi movies that I like, and now I can't buy them anymore because they're out of print. Thanks.
Well, they did get Yamibo out,
They
kind
did.
of, so...
They have their moments, but just, oh... Anyways, point being, Toho, don't fuck around. Like, if the American release doesn't have the big block kanji letters, that's probably their call.
Yeah.
Not Funimation's.
But, overall, though, like, this has to be one of, if not the best, of the Godzilla dubs that have come out.
This one's very... I feel like I've not seen all, that too many Godzilla dubs as it is. And when I see them, I generally watch, like, the Japanese version. So my knowledge, it's not a super high bar to clear, but I don't say that to knock this performance at all. I think this is, like, very high quality given the kind of trouble you run into trying to make a good live-action dub of a movie.
Yeah.
And I think like also like given like all the limitations I think are kind of baked into that, I thought they did a fantastic job presenting this.
Yeah, I've generally been mostly impressed with Funimation's live-action dubs. Rurouni Kenshin is probably the high point. But also Yamato wasn't all that bad. I mean, I would still favor the sub version of live-action Yamato, but I could recommend the dub to somebody who can't or won't watch something subtitled.
Yeah.
So, you can find Shin Godzilla on Blu-ray and DVD through whatever retailer you use for Blu-rays and DVDs. It is also available for sale on Amazon's digital marketplace. I'm not actually sure where else digitally you might be able to find it. Probably like Xbox, PlayStation, iTunes, Google.
Yeah, I suspect like your usual roundup of like digital download movie distributors probably have their hands on it at this point.
And I'm not entirely sure if the dub would be available or if it's exclusive to the Blu-ray or DVD, but either way, it is a very, very great and powerful film that you should check out.
Agreed.
Dub or sub, you cannot go wrong with this one. Basically a classic tale of bureaucracy getting shit done when they finally clear the red tape.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think I can answer your question. I'm looking at the Google Play listing for Shin Godzilla. Actually, it claims it has neither audio or subtitles in my language, but is available in Spanish. I don't know what that means, but so I don't know. Maybe I've gone to the Spanish page. I don't know. Either way, you can find it there at the very least. So keep it in mind.
Yeah, I mean, you would probably want to like pick up the Blu-ray anyway. Yeah. So
it's a very nice set. Pick it up.
They do also have a standalone DVD version if Blu-ray's not your thing. But I mean, the Blu-ray has like that nice black Blu-ray case. They put a lot of,
and for that matter, it comes with a DVD. So
yeah.
Yes, no, it looks very nice. It's quite a nice little release on their part.
And a nice little embossed cardboard case. There's also a bonus feature on it that I haven't seen, Nerds vs. Godzilla. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
I watched a little bit of it. It's like a little promotional, like, half-hour featurette of someone in Funimation marketing having an interview with like some Godzilla fans. They have like they have the guy who like does a lot of the art for the IDW Godzilla comics that are coming out these days.
Oh, sick!
And a couple other people who they are is escaping me right now because that's the one that stuck out to me because I've read some of those IDW comics and they're pretty dope.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about them.
They're what you want because they have, it's drawn so you can have all the monsters in them all the time. It's great.
Not to mention, when you call a comic Godzilla Goes to Hell,
right?
Like, there's no way you can't have a good time with a comic book called Godzilla Goes to Hell. Where Godzilla actually goes to hell and fights Satan. That sounds like the best time ever.
I love comics so much. They're so good.
Comic books are a wonderful, wonderful medium.
So, yeah.
So, Amon, where can we find you on the internets?
On the internets, you can find me at AmonDuelUS on Twitter, where I usually Post songs occasionally, and then just sort of bitch and moan about whatever I've watched recently, for some level of competency. You can also occasionally find me at worldthat'scoming.blogspot.com, where I very occasionally post like articles and reviews that I come up with. And let's see, do I have a song for today? I'm very sad. The only thing that's coming to mind is Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult, which is so obvious I don't want to leave it with that. But you know what? Godzilla's a great song. Go listen to it.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great song. Roots, where can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Roots of Justice. I retweet pug pictures. I wear a nice, comfortable tinfoil hat. Oh, it's a great time.
It is a very good time. You should follow him, listeners at home. It is a choice Twitter feed.
And, I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably know where we are. But in the event this is embedded in some Tumblr post or Twitter feed, you can find us at youtube.com/dubtalk. We also have a Twitter account, dubtalkpodcast. All 3 words are together, no hyphens, no nothing. All 3 words are capitalized. And that it will also take you to our Instagram and Tumblr pages. Yes, we are on the social medias.
We are good at them, yes. It's true. We appeal to the young people these days.
Them kids!
These kids.
With their cell phones and the PlayStation 5s and the...
Kids these days, they don't even know how much of an Evangelion episode this show is, I tell you. It's terrible.
We had to walk in the snow 15 miles for our Godzilla VHS tapes. Uphill! Both ways in the snow!
And half the time when you got to the store, it turns out some other kid got the one you wanted, so you had to get Godzilla's revenge again.
Oh. Okay. So, from Dub Talk, we would like to wish you a good night, and Otaku Wanda Dubbers!
Good night, nerds.